Yep, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to always draw a trend line just like this, see exactly what it's doing. Next thing I'm going to do is look at what the next range was, which was here. So this is the channel it's been in. Do you see this? I'm getting that from these, this, and this. I'm making sure it's staying on the trend line, which it is, and this is getting ready to collapse. You see it?
Yes, sir.
Now, if it stays in the trend line, you're good to go. If it doesn't, you're going to have a pull to create a new channel. That's why these trend lines matter. Now, see how the way it's just dipping? That's not that big of a deal. But if it starts to form candles just like our support and resistance, we're doing the same thing off this trend line, right? So we're keeping an eye on it just like this. See how it's barely popping through, a little bit of wick, long wick, but then shot right back up. We're watching the same things here. But as soon as that changes, we're going to know what direction it wants to go.
Pop or drop.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and it's a reason I mentioned is because we often talk about channels and we talk about these sideways channels, but you have to be conscious of trend channels too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm always in my head without putting lines on the screen. Like
I saw it too. That's why, but I drew my
just
trend lines
there.
to confirm it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's built in there. Like when I see it, I don't need all this, but it's definitely great, especially this trend line, to know if this is going to break pattern. All I care about, honestly, is if the pattern breaks to a strange way or not. See right here, this is a good sign back to the upside. So now, as long as this stays inside this trend line, I'm going to use it just like support. So if it stays above trend line, bang, I'm going to call and I'll ride this up as high as it'll go, which by the way, it looks like it's about right here. See it?
And we're getting higher lows as it creeps up, and
that's right.
It's testing that 147.80 range right now, continuously.
Yep.
So
Yep. And then I'm just going to ride it all the way up. Bang, just a little nice scoop. By the way, this is about a $200 pop on the size I do. Does that make sense, everybody?
Absolutely. And part of this goes to, when you've been watching an overall, like I've been living in Apple, David's been living in Apple. A lot of us have been in certain stocks, some of us watch Tesla, some of us watch buy, whatever. But when you've been in it for so long, you start to see these patterns and things, not just the flags and the trends, but you get to see its overall movement through a day too, and watch what it does over and over again.
That's right.
Okay. So where he started drawing the trend line from right at the beginning of that, if it goes past that right there, if it goes past that, would that be considered okay now a put?
Yep. Yeah. See right here? That's a put. See how it broke the trend line?
Mm-hmm.
That's a put. And then the good thing with this is you use this as your stop, right? Because if it goes the other side, I already know I can't be in it because it's got to stay down here. Treat it just like support and resistance.
Also, when you start looking at, because that was a strong pull all of a sudden, so then you start looking at other tickers, Tesla, SPY, what else is moving? What's happening? Is there news?
Yeah, exactly. And you see this wick, this one, look how long it is up top, right? So that already told you a bunch of selling pressure is pushing this wick down. Do you guys see it? So as soon as it did, it pushed it all down, and then you got a giant pullback. And now you're below the trend line, so now we're being cautious in this range because this can start to break out into a completely different channel. And remember, a different channel is when I start to pay attention, like, hey, something's up. That's going to be a big drop, big pop. It could do weird things. I've got to really pay attention when all of it changes. A change in any type of formation, the channel, the way it's been driving will indicate something big can happen.